After years of putting time, effort, resources into the other piece of land that we manage, today is a big day because we get to get the cows on that landscape and recoup some of the cost. It's a big day for us. We're very excited. Let's move some cows and do some vet work to them at the same time. In moving the cows over, we have to give them shots. When you have newborn cattle, it's really important to make sure they're not getting communicable diseases that could infect your entire herd. Today, we have a 9-way shot, which is good because we're vaccinating for like blackleg and some other things, which are really, really detrimental to your cattle. But also, when we go to ban some of these bulls into steers, this makes that process a little bit easier, making sure they're not getting infection. So you'll get the needle, you'll get the syringe, you'll get the stuff, but we need to put all that together. And the way we do that is pull the syringe out. We've got our syringe, we pull the needle out, and that just screws into the back of it. Then we can pop the top off. Now, if we just go ahead, we want to save this pink top. If we just go ahead and jam it in there and start drawing back, it's harder to do. So we want to pull it back to our dosage that we want. That's 2 cc's here. Put it in, push that air in, and then as we start to draw, we can fill our syringe. Press the air out, go again. Now this is a subcutaneous injection. I'll show you how that's working when we do it. But we fill it up to 2, pull this off, recap it, and then as we go to do all of our cows today, we have individual injections set up for each one of those. So let's get to it. We'll separate the cattle and we'll send them through the lane, then we'll load them up to the trailer. That's fine, we'll get her. No, no, you're going this way. Go on, go on. Pull that lever up. Yes. Yeah. That's all right. We got one in the chute. Her head's in the head gate. I need to pull some DNA for her so we can get the registration paperwork done. So that comes just off of the tail. I have a plastic bag here. I have a hard time doing it with my fingers. We want to make sure that we get those like follicle ends. Put it in the bag. There we go, there's something on that. That's what we'll send off to the UC Davis lab. And we'll get their DNA checked. Because this is where the value comes from the cattle, making sure that they're registered, make sure that whoever buys the cow for breeding, they know what they're getting in their babies. And there's only one way to make sure that it's purebred, and doing the DNA paperwork is how I do that. Rumor Willis. So Demi is the mom, Demi Moo, and then this is Rumor. Settle down, guys, we're making a video. So to do this, we want to do a sub-Q injection, which means like in the skin, not in the intramuscular. Up here we have the vertebrae. There's the jugular groove down below. We want to get in the fatty part of the neck. So I grab a fold of skin. There's not much there. Come 45 degrees in there. Get in there. And then give her the injection slowly. You rub it a little bit. All right, I'm sending her, Fred. You ready? All right, you ready on that door, Gavin? Come on. Come on. Cool. That might just be what we got to deal with.
You don't
No,
need
it's
it
fine.
right here.
No, I don't need. He just gets a shot. Yeah, ultimately the plan is these cows eat the grass, they give us some money and food, but ultimately they make the landscape better by heavily grazing them and then moving them on and giving them a lot of rest on the pasture. So our plan is to get them over there and then show you how we do this and make the land better and better with every round. New character unlocked, Demi Moo. She's the nicest cow that we have. She's very sweet. She always stands back while the other we'll get to you. While the other ones are eating, and then I give her a little bit of feed. She's a very nice lady, Demi Moo. Go on. Come on. Go ahead, good girl. So this is a bander, and simply it takes off the cow's nuts, creating a steer. Now a steer grows larger and fattier. The meat tastes better because it doesn't have all that testosterone in it. That's why we ban these things. The other reason might be that we have more steers in a pasture. We only really want one bull, so we take the nuts off. But if they don't have their nuts, then they don't have a purpose other than meat production, and that's why we banned them. There's lots of back and forth about is banding better and when to do it. The studies recently have shown that if you let a little bit of size get on them before you band them, then the meat is better and they grow more weight. A lot of people are proponents of banding them in the first month. The other option is cut their nuts off. I've seen people do it with like big clippers or a scalpel. Ultimately, the result is the same. This seems more humane to me, and there's no bud involved. In the shots that we're giving these things, there's a tetanus portion of that, and that helps make sure bacteria infections don't go down with the banding. This is an XL bander, so we can wait a little bit longer before we band the steers. So enough of that, let's get into it. So this is the band. It goes on the banding tool. I'm gonna stick my hand up in there, feel its nuts, make sure that they fit inside here, and then I'll let the pressure off, make sure the nuts are out here. You get the picture. That's what I'm doing. Excuse me, bud. Excuse me, bud. All right, now cough. I thought that was funny. All right, we confirm they're in there. See, the band is around the nuts. The band is around the nuts. There's one, there's two. We're all set. This one might be better for the smaller bander. Same thing for smaller nuts. But you don't know until you feel them. So he had some bigger nuts than formerly anticipated. So we've got the larger bander. Takes after his daddy. All right, bud. All right. All right, we check both, make sure both are in there. Drop the bander. Oh, sorry, bud. Sorry, bud. Let's try that again. We've got the cows coming over to this land, and we're excited to have them. I know they're excited to be out of this trailer. Let's let them free. What's up, cows? Finally brought the cows onto this land that we've been working for a long time. We had to cut a road to even get here, but once we covered that road in gravel, we put up fence, got a new roof on this barn to keep the hay dry, did a lot of loader work. We showed you all that. We showed you the burning piles, cleaning up all the extra debris. We bush hogged this, just gave a little bit of time for this land to rest while we put up all the fences, got the well put in, dug the water lines to the waterers, and really transformed this landscape from like kind of neglected horse and cattle farm to now I think a really good showcase for regenerative design and regenerative agriculture. We're not all the way there yet. We just brought the cattle here today, so we're gonna let them get acclimated a little bit, and then we can put this system really to work. And the way we'll do that is by having infinitely adaptable grazing sections inside these paddocks that we've built with the high tensile woven wire fencing and electric. From here, we can divide these sections into smaller sections using the water as like a central point. So they always have access to the water, which is completely off grid with the solar panel behind us. It's a lot of work that's gone into this. And I say all the time that land is not a farm. Farm, you need to have integration with animals. In my view, you need to have integration with animals because that's the way that the landscape works. We have deer, we have squirrels, raccoons, possums living on the landscape. And if we're not doing that, it's just land. So we need equipment, we need animals, and we need a plan. And so we've just started implementing this here, even though we bought this land like 2 or 3 years ago. It's finally come full circle, and now we can kind of get some cash flow, or in this case, some meat flow back from it. So we're really excited about that. So my expectation has been tempered, but I can tell you when I bought the other farm, you read all these books that like within 3 years, you're gonna be where you wanna be. And that's just not the case. I mean, maybe it's the case, but you're gonna have a lot of money put in to kind of hitting the fast forward button. We can trade dollars for time. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of planning. And you can't just like expect to be on the landscape. But whatever you expect, it's gonna be 3 times longer, 3 times more costly. But ultimately, you're gonna have a product that like you really love and you can pass on for generations if that's your goal. But knowing where your food comes from, super important to us. We've seen with the cost of everything, it's not getting any cheaper. I was just talking to my neighbor earlier. He had a cow that was out, and he was telling me that when he put these posts in the ground over at his farm, they were $1 a post. Now we're like $20 for a piece of wood, so it's not getting any cheaper. If you want your family to have access to food, somebody in your family has to take the risk and do the work. And people are like, oh, what are you going to do with like the woods, and are you farming everything? That's the big question that we get is, are you farming everything on the land that you have? And the answer is yes, they're just at different time scales. So like the timber, we can harvest that, every 20, 25 years or 100 years. The pasture systems, the chickens with eggs are like an everyday thing. The cows once a year. They're just different time horizons on it. So it's like, it's better to be in the market than like on the sidelines. This is not monoculture. We're not just farming cows. We're not just farming chickens. We're not just farming pigs or timber. It's an integrative regenerative system that makes it better every time. So we can pull cash out on those different time horizons like I was just talking about. But we're really like whole systems farming. And if we can leave it better every time, come in with the cows, have them eat everything, give it time off. Same with the chickens, same with the timber. We come in, intensively manage stuff, give it time off, and then the landscape will recover. Like the earth is the ultimate healer, and given enough time, it's gonna take back over and make the system better. We can use stacking functions and intelligent design to make that faster so we can profit from that. And that's what we do when we design farm systems for ourselves or other people, is try to leave it better than we found it by stacking functions, by implementing that toolkit that we talk about all the time, that all landscape is different. But if we have the toolkit, we can say, oh, this is what we want to implement here. This is what the land is telling us to implement that ultimately we'll profit from. And we're not just going to come in, cut down all the trees and be done with it. We're farming the way the land tells us to farm, getting the products out that we need. And I think that that's how we make beautiful, intelligent systems for regenerative design. So I've got some expectations for this land that's a little bit different to like the institute that you've come and visited. This is close by, but this is really like an animal system. For the next little bit, we're gonna let these cows hang out and become acclimated to this space. Know where the waters are, know where the hay is coming from. Just kind of like sink into the landscape and become a piece of it. From there, we've got the electric wire around all of this fencing that we can tap into and create smaller paddocks. So as we have and all of that depends on the landscape. How much green material is growing. The stuff that's further on the north side, it won't grow as fast because it doesn't get the sunlight that this side does. So we're gonna read the landscape and then build those paddocks based on how many animals and how much green material is there for those animals to eat. We'll have infinitely variable paddock systems. We can reel out the fence. They'll be trained to the electric wire so they won't want to go near it. And then we'll move those cows through the landscape. They'll eat, they'll poop, they'll move on to the next spot. They'll only be there for a short period of time, and that'll leave the system better every time the cows leave and the pastures are set to rest. As that progresses to 6 months, a year, 6 years, we'll be allowed to have more cattle on the same land because the land is healthier. We've added more organic matter. We've given the land time to rest and grow. It's the same land, but the fertilization, the organic matter, all of that comes into play so we can grow more. In time, the weeds will be eaten out, and it'll just be what the cows really like to eat in their grazing system. We might see the emergence of some native grasses that haven't been seen in a long time in this place. What I would really like to see, though, is the return of the quail. That, for me, will mark that we're doing things successfully, and this farm is the regenerative design, regenerative agriculture model for this area. There's lots of people doing similar things, but seeing this process from nothing to something, I think will be really valuable. That's why we share all these things with you. Hopefully you're taking something from it and implementing it in your own place, whether it's what we do with the chickens, whether it's the cows, whether it's our market garden. All of these tools are to get you to abundance quicker, faster, cheaper. Because ultimately it's about the time that we spend with our friends, the time we spend with our family, and having cheap food that's the most nutritious, the best, and super tasty. And there's only one way to do that, and that's getting back to the land. Whether you have a tiny apartment and all you can grow in is a window box, a small farm, a suburban area, or a hundreds of acres homestead, we have some information for you. This is the place to get these tools and take them back to your home, because ultimately we're about getting you to abundance cheaper, faster, quicker. We want you to have these tools. The only way that we can all succeed is through getting back to the landscape. We firmly believe this. That's why we're sharing all these free materials. Whether you come see us or sign up in the description below to get more information, take advantage of these free resources. You can't afford to be without them.